Hi, this is Jim Pikarski. I teach meditation and give Dharma talks here in Venice, Florida at Blue Lotus Meditation Center. Welcome, everyone. Today I'd like to talk about transforming our minds through meditation. When we meditate, our minds go through transformation over time. People who meditate out there may have noticed changes going through their mind, and what I'd like to do is talk about these changes. They're difficult to talk about because they're not easily defined. However, I'll use certain analogies to help you kind of chart the course of your own development. So before meditation, people's minds are like a jungle. They're like a jungle because thoughts and emotions are they're involved with so much that we don't have much vision. And like you're in a jungle and that's all you can see is the plants and trees around you. So most people are lost in thought all day long. They're lost in the thoughts they have and the feelings these thoughts provoke. And these mental events are so thick that is like a thick jungle. Believing in all this stuff and not understanding its limitations causes all our suffering. Now, at some point, hopefully, a person will be introduced to meditation. And in meditation, in beginning meditators, the first thing they understand is that while they're meditating, is that their minds are active all day long. They get a little look at this jungle. But when you begin meditation, it's almost like a cascading waterfall. The thoughts and emotions just come over and over and over again. There's not much space. But at least now you're aware of your thinking, and you're aware of how your mind is compulsively going all the time. The conditioned mind has a force of its own. So we're gaining awareness of this, of the conditioned mind. After some meditation practice, the analogy is of a stream. One starts to experience levels of silence where mental events diminish. Just like in a stream, there's quiet parts and then there's rapids. The ones that appear may be a little less painful because we're getting a little sense of ourselves and we're getting a little distance from these mental events. They're not, the thoughts and emotions they provoke are less enamoring for us. So we're learning to pay less attention to them. And anything that we pay less attention to occurs less. So silence and peace are experienced and appreciated. So a lot of times at this point, our meditations are peaceful. In other words, we may not feel peaceful so much during it, but afterwards we feel good. And this creates enthusiasm for meditation. A lot of times we have to continue to meditate long enough that we can develop this enthusiasm, this taste for it, and this appreciation for it. Because after a while, we will develop an appreciation. It feels good. So as we develop a greater meditation practice, our meditation practice becomes like a river. And this is because of training. Our mental events are losing their importance. They're not as potent, and the identification with them is less pervasive. It's kind of like these thoughts are kind of like candles burning in sunlight. They don't really create much, they don't gather our attention very much because there's more and more sunlight in our consciousness. There's more peace, and mindfulness is becoming more stronger. A lot of times what happens when we're in this more developed state of meditation is that thoughts and mindfulness can occur at the same time. We may be aware of our breath and aware that we're thinking at the same time. But thinking we don't get so enamored with our thinking that we forget our sensations and our awareness. We're able to keep attention on both, even though we don't have any control over the thoughts coming up. They just come up. Um, so our beliefs become more in line with reality because as we meditate, we become more and more capable of questioning our own beliefs and making sure that what we're thinking is in line with reality. Um, so our beliefs become positive and less rigid. Um, and the gap between mental events becomes longer and longer. So you may have true peaceful states of mind where you're just noticing your breath, you're just noticing your sensations, and there's not a lot of thought going on. Our mind becomes more stable, and as our mind becomes more stable and quieter, there's more room for wisdom to express itself. Because wisdom has a hard time expressing itself when our preconceived notions they're like static that gets in the way of our seeing things directly and clearly. Um, So a lot of times we even experience things when we're not meditating. So the meditation will, follow us off the meditation cushion. Sometimes during the day we'll have periods of meditative quiet in our minds, and and even the mental events that are happening are more purposeful. In other words, we're doing something that's helpful, and they're more positive. And also, our compassion isn't blocked because the mental events make us so self centered, it's hard for us to have compassion. But once these mental events clear out a little bit, then our natural compassion can shine forth. Um, and the sensory pleasures can be enjoyed more thoroughly too because we can enjoy them without getting attached to them or without um, getting enamored with them. Our thoughts don't get involved with them. We just enjoy good food, and that's it. Um, so the ego is not as involved in our activities. So what we do is we start overcoming our emotional obscurations, and during the river phase, we're finding that we have less and less emotional pain in our lives. So then we get to the level of C. In C, our meditation has progressed a long way. And here, we're basically seeing everything as a manifestation of our open awareness. We've moved beyond just practicing meditation. We're bringing meditation into being able to see reality. And our mind is very peaceful and has this unwavering stability. There's nothing to block compassion or love. Um, Emotional obscurations are overcome, which basically means that because the ego has been seen through or is being seen through, it can't create as much distress emotionally for us. Also, cognitive obscurations, wrong thinking, is being seen through too. We begin to see that all ideas of separation and other things that create difficulties for us are not true. Um, so we're basically seeing the world as it is, as one. It's opposite of the closed world of the jungle of mental events. There's openness, there's space, there's a sense of freedom and peace inside of ourselves. So as you meditate, you may want to look at the changes that go on in your mind and just kind of track those changes. You don't have to do it very, obsessively, but just notice them. I think it can be helpful. It can also be helpful to see that we are making progress in our meditation. Over time, we really develop concentration where our mind is able to be very stable and very clear. And with concentration, we're able to investigate the world without preconceived notions getting in the way. So this allows for wisdom to dawn. We can start seeing things as they are. And what happens is, as we deepen our meditation, we start reversing the habit. Initially, thoughts and the emotions they provoke are primary, and they're what we're looking at all day in our mind. Now, the focus is more on awareness and sensation. And awareness and sensation is really about life. It's not seen through the lens of the mind. It's seen directly through our senses. And all this gives us the clarity to explore our true nature. And our true nature is beyond thought. And eventually, what happens if you continue meditating, there is something, the Buddhists call it realizing selflessness. Advaita Vedantins call it realizing the self with a big S. And what happens is that your center of gravity changes. Your center of gravity changes from being an ego that is created in thought to being awareness itself. And so now we're centered in awareness. And when we're centered in awareness, that's basically what we feel when we look inside. We may have excursions into ego-centered thoughts, but basically our center of gravity is awareness. Before, our center of gravity was our ego-centered thoughts, and occasionally we would have a glimpse of awareness, a glimpse of the peace of our true nature. But we would misinterpret it. We would think that the true nature was an experience that the ego had, and the ego would want that experience again. Now, from the other side, we realize that our true nature is our true nature. That's who we are. And that the ego is just static, getting in the way. So anyway, as you meditate, you may want to look at the progression of your meditation. Some people progress very rapidly and some people less rapidly. However, if you keep meditating, you can really see the effects it has, and you will see your life change. And your life will change in a very positive manner. You will have less pain in your life, less suffering, and more peace. Thank you.